As the Raptors get set to embark on a playoff push, they've added in veteran shooter Will Barton Jr. to the team at the expense of waiving Junahcio Hernangomez. In this video, we're going to break down everything you need to know about this acquisition. Can he really make a difference for this Raptors team? Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? It's Jacob here, back with Amateur Hour Sports. For Raptors videos, live streams, and more, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and like this video in particular to show your support to the brand. But the video today, breaking down first reactions to the Will Barton signing. The Raptors have just signed Will Barton to a contract for the rest of the season, and they have waived Junahcio Hernangomez in order to make room for the player. The Raptors are about to get set to go for a playoff push, and this is a very important week coming up for the team. They had the Chicago Bulls tonight in a very important game, and two more games this week against Will Barton's former team, the Washington Wizards, and these three games can completely decide the outlook of how the play-in games are going to lay out. Will the Raptors be a 7th or 8th seed with double elimination possibilities and making the playoffs, or will it be two do-or-die games as a 9th or a 10th seed? Well, Masai Ujiri, he's been seeing the shooting this season, how it's been subpar from a roster standpoint, and maybe that previous game against the Cleveland Cavaliers really highlighted where things have gone wrong for the Raptors this season in that department, and he has tried to make a difference here. It's not going to be a signing that completely changes the roster and the outlook on the season, but this is a player the Raptors have brought in that can make a difference going forward and might be that secret little piece, that added little piece that makes that smallest amount of difference that can push the Raptors over the top and get into one of those higher playing positions. Or if things really go well for the next 20 or so games, can the Raptors push into a top 6 seed and avoid the play-in tournament altogether? So for starters, Will Barton over the course of his career has possessed a 35.5 three-point percentage. Now, this isn't incredibly eye-opening, I admit, but in the last 4 seasons, he has really taken off in that category. In 3 of the last 4 seasons, including this one happening right now, he has shot above 37.5% from 3, and in the 4th season he shot under that, it was at 36.5. So some impressive figures from Will Barton in the recent years, and in his early 30s with 29 games of playoff experience, maybe this is the veteran presence needed for such a young and up-and-coming core. Will Barton with the Denver Nuggets, where he spent most of his career, routinely scored in the mid-10s for points per game, which could be some added scoring for the Raptors that could make a big difference, though he has seen a sharp drop-off in his minutes and his output on the court this season with the Washington Wizards. Perhaps this is what led to the Wizards bailing on Will Barton, waiving the player, and leaving him up for a team like the Toronto Raptors to sign. But clearly, there has been ability for this player, even as short of a time ago as last season, and the Raptors are looking to unlock something a little bit different here to add into their shooting for the team. He has possessed good three-point percentages with a decent amount of volume, 4, 5, 6 3-pointers per game, and just that added little spacing. 1 or 2 made threes a game from this player can make such a big difference to this team and its struggling bench unit. This acquisition did have to come at a cost, though, and admittedly, I was very much not expecting the Raptors to make any buyout market signings. I even made a video on my second channel dedicated to the fact that you should not expect any new signings to come into the team, and my thought process was that the likeliest player to get waived would be Delano Banton, and I was like, well, if Delano Banton was withheld from the San Antonio Spurs trade for Jakob Poeltl, why would the Raptors want to go and make that decision? But it really caught me off guard to see that they were willing to waive Junahcio Hernangomez here, and it's kind of a further reminder from the offseason decision to give him that fully guaranteed contract that it was a little bit of a mistake there. I recognized it then, though he maybe played above expectations for a certain period of time. Ultimately, he has not been the player we wanted him to be. We literally signed Junahcio Hernangomez to be a player to shoot threes for this team. We were in desperate need of shooters. Masai's play in the offseason was to bring in Junahcio Hernangomez, and even though for pockets he contributed in different ways, largely he did not contribute at all. He was never able to contribute to the three-point game at all, let alone consistently anything. He never contributed effectively to the three-point game of the Raptors. That is exactly what he was signed to do for this team. So the Raptors have made the decision to move on. They care about winning. Masai Ujiri has sent the message to the team. Maybe more importantly, he has sent the message to the fan base that this team is intent on winning games going through the rest of the season, and they are willing to spend maybe a little bit here to add in Will Barton. It's because this is such a quick reaction to the signing. We don't know the full extent of the contract for Barton. We don't know what's going to go on with the tax implications of the deal. All we know is that Will Barton has been added to the team in place of Junahcio Hernangomez. In theory, in the offseason, you can kind of understand where the Raptors were coming from in getting Junahcio, but like I said, with a potential playoff berth just on the horizon here, the Raptors, they needed help, and they got help here. So, the buyout market in general, just want to make a comment on this here, usually is quite overrated. And I'm trying to sell Will Barton as, this is definitely a player that can help us here. He can add in 1 to 2 threes per game off of our bench. And I think that though there were struggles with the Wizards this season, the player, he's not getting any younger in his early 30s, definitely not getting any younger right now. I still think there was some things that weren't utilized correctly by the Wizards, and this player can make a difference to our team and can make a difference to our bench, albeit a very, very low bar set for getting anything output related towards your bench. But once again, this is a player I believe that can make a difference for this team. Not a huge difference, but when you're coming down to the nitty-gritty of the season and 1 or 2 wins can be the difference in your seeding and be a significant difference towards your seeding in, like I said, being the 7th or 8th seed or being the 9th or 10th seed or even going as high as the 6th seed if some teams fall off in the Eastern Conference. This is the type of player that can find maybe 1 or 2 more wins for the next 20 or so games and get the Raptors over the line and get them towards their aspirations for this season. This is a player who last season scored just under 15 points per game for the Denver Nuggets on 44% shooting from the field and nearly 37% shooting from 3. That in starting 71 games here. He has not adapted well to his bench role with the Wizards that he had this season, featuring in 40 games, starting in 0 of them, really seeing his minutes drop. And though I will say a lot of that is on the player for the way he shot this season, shooting under 40%, there is still that touch and that ability as an NBA player that remains within the player. I have belief that is the case. I don't know. I really don't think he's going to be averaging 15 points per game for the Raptors. But honestly, the state of our bench right now, when the team is healthy, the state of our bench is still in a little bit of a perilous situation here. You're likely going to be seeing Gary Trent Jr. coming off the bench now that Fred VanVleet is back from celebrating the birth of his 3rd child. You're going to add on to the bench unit with Precious Achiuwa, Chris Boucher. To a degree now, you are going to have to add in Jeff Dowtin to that mix, and then adding in another player like Will Barton that you should have a considerable amount of faith in to feature consistently for this team. That is a much nicer 10-man unit than this team possessed going into the trade deadline. I believe this team is capable and is going to be a top 8 seed in the Eastern Conference when it's all said and done on the season. This week will be very telling towards that. I don't think they'll have enough juice to get to a top 6 seed, but each position is vital to what the Raptors want for this season. Will Barton Jr. is an acquisition once again who is going to aid in doing that. It's kind of sad to see the state of what happened to Junahcio Hernangomez, but I think this player can only have himself to blame. When you're with a team like the Toronto Raptors, which is already so depleted in terms of depth, like I said, the bar is extremely low on what you have to do to get consistent minutes with this team. And this is just something that Junahcio, Bo Cruz, whatever you want to call him, it's just something that he could not and was not able to meet this season. The Raptors mean business. Masai Ujiri means business. Bobby Webster means business. And it's a showcase to the fan that, once again, it's all about going out and getting wins for this team. What do you guys make of the Will Barton signing? Do you think it's going to make a difference for the Raptors for the last little pocket of the season, potentially in towards the playoffs? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to Amateur Hour Sports for more Raptors content just like this.